Good evening. I'm Michael Gillespie. I direct the Center for the Humanities in an Urban Environment. And I'd like to welcome you here this evening to the stage reading of Rick Schwartz's Collaborators. It's a great honor for the center to be affiliated with anything the theater department does, because they always have top-notch productions. And it's very exciting to be able to be part of this initial presentation of Rick Schwartz's play. I think that it ties in with what the center tries to do in engaging the community in discussions on the humanities. And it's simply a great way, as this semester is coming to an end and we're all a little tired, to revive our spirits with something that's very, very well done and a really important piece of writing. Let me turn it over to Philip Church, the director, who will tell you a bit more specifically about tonight's production.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Black Box at the Department of Theatre of Florida International University. First of all, let me thank you for being here to support Rick Schwartz and his new play, Collaborators. Stage readings are super, super important. If any of you are playwrights, you probably really understand the value of what it is to have a play read. Because it's been in your head and it's on paper, and as a playwright you're just reading it and you're trying to get a sense of the theatricality of it, the dramatic potential, and whether some of the scenes are really credible, how they glue together the dialogue, how it reads out loud. So, stage readings. Now, usually, traditionally, stage readings are pretty static things, sometimes at music stands or given very, very minimal. We've opened it up a little bit, and these wonderful actors from FIU and Wayne Robinson, who is one of our acting teachers, with kind permission from Equity. Wayne is an Equity member, professional actor, gave him permission to be able to do this stage reading tonight. We've sort of opened up the reading a little bit more without going into huge production values. So a lot of things you can see substitute, okay? So the liquor over there, it would be bourbon or it'd be vodka. So that's a stage reading. You don't expect to get all the production values, but enough things to allow the actors to really connect with the text and the characters, and then Rick can really see things really being played out a little bit more. Actors still on script, of course. So, given that, the format, and the tradition of stage readings, I want to thank you for being here, and it's really to support Rick and where this play will go next in terms of its development. And I'm sure he's going to be taking notes tonight and then working on this version into a second draft. Okay? So sit back and enjoy Collaborators by Rick Schwartz. There's a 10-minute intermission. There's food outside for you, okay?
Collaborators, a play by Richard A. Schwartz. Act 1, Scene 1. January 26, 1951. The living room of Hollywood producer Charles Sullivan. The room is elegantly furnished with Impressionist and Post-Impressionist paintings and Hindu and Buddhist statues, including one of Shiva. Miller sits on a couch looking through a manuscript, while Kazan stands at a bar pouring drinks. A telephone is on a stand beside them, and the television set sits in one corner.
I appreciate you coming out all this way to work on the script with me, Art.
Thanks. I need the break anyway. To tell you the truth, things haven't been so great with Mary lately.
Well, I detected something. A little less bouncing a step, perhaps, huh?
I confess that I was attracted to another woman, but I never acted on it. I never would. I told her that too. My family means too much to me and my commitments. But Mary went berserk and has been cold ever since.
So much for honesty being the best policy, huh?
I don't know. I guess it's her Catholic upbringing. She equates desire with the act.
And you don't?
Of course not. No one can control what he desires, but we can all control how we act on those desires. That's how we determine who we are.
Spoken like a true existentialist, huh? Trying for the will and all that?
I'm an existentialist, not a Nazi.
Oh, what's a Nazi but an existentialist without a moral compass? In any case, I think it's our desires themselves that determine who we are. Did you ever consider that? You make it sound like desire is some dangerous, out-of-control force that must be suppressed at all costs. I disagree.
Not all desires, but some of them, sure. Otherwise, we'd all kill each other sooner or later. How many times when we've been up all night arguing over a scene, I wished you were dead. Or me. Suppression of desires is the basis of civilization, for God's sake.
But it's the libido, the passion, the sexual urge that fuels life. Tamp it down too hard and the fire goes out. Read Freud.
Give it free rein and everything explodes. Read Freud.
Everything explodes either way, but that's how life evolves. Shiva the destroyer is Shiva the creator. Shiva the creator is Shiva the destroyer.
All I know is that Mary sure exploded. Kaboom! Right in my face. What new creation will come from that eruption, heaven knows.
Heaven knows no fury like a woman scorned.
She's not furious. I wish she were. Instead, she becomes silent and stony. Anyway, I didn't scorn her.
Not in your mind. In her mind, you did.
Miller mulls over the thought.
It was nice of Feldman to let us stay at his place and work on the movie while he's away.
And to leave the bar and the bedroom so nicely stocked.
Yes, I notice you haven't had to keep your desires too much in check.
Not at all. You want a refill?
From the bar or from the bedroom?
Your choice.
Don't tempt me. My resolve is weakening. It could lead to the end of civilization as we know it.
Feldman wants to keep me happy since I'm directing his adaptation of Streetcar later this year. Tennessee was really pissed when I pulled out of the Rose Tattoo to do the hook with you. But a good rendering of Streetcar should appease him.
What do you think of these revisions I've made? Movies are so different from plays.
It's still too long. After 2 hours, movie audiences can answer.
Okay, so where can we cut? I don't want to lose anything that shows Marty Ferrera as a fundamentally moral man caught in an untenable situation. I want this movie to provoke people to think about what it means to be a moral person, to see the nuances involved and the costs.
Well, I'm good with that, but how about shortening some of those opening scenes on the docks?
I need them to establish Marty's disgust at the union bosses.
I'm not saying delete the scenes, just trim them. See if you can shave a few pages off. Even a couple would speed things up.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. What else?
Well, I like those additions you made in Marty's speech to the longshoremen, where you play the rats on the wharf off the rats running the union, but then you lose it right after that when he says, let's see here, right here. Yeah, if this fink can take from me the bread and butter from my mouth, then I'm a slave in a chain.
Okay, yeah, that's an easy fix.
Well, first, the prose isn't natural. Take from me the bread and butter, who talks like that? A grammar teacher, maybe, not real people. Certainly not a longshoreman. But the real problem's this next line. I was born in Italy, but this is fascism. Too heavy-handed. Plus, it won't fly in today's climate. No studio is going to back a movie that complains about fascism. Not when Joe McCarthy and his pals on QAC are crucifying the Abraham Lincoln Brigade for being prematurely anti-fascist back when they fought Franco in the 30s. You lose the audience. The fascists aren't our enemy today. The Reds are.
Coming from you, that's a mouthful.
Well, it didn't take me long to see that the Reds aren't any better. Look at Stalin. How many millions of innocents died in those sham purge trials of his? And then he gave Hitler carte blanche to invade Poland and start a world war? Millions more dead? How could anyone call himself moral and still justify all that?
They can't, of course.
Well, the American communists are just as bad as the Russians. Only they lack power. Otherwise, they'd be just as controlling as Stalin, insisting that they have a lock on truth and that everyone submit to party discipline. That's the main reason I quit. Plus, they were taking their orders from Moscow. I never signed up for that.
That's why I never joined. I don't want some party hack telling me what I can write. But don't you feel the fascists taking over America now? McCarthy, Hoover, McCarran, Nixon?
Yes, of course I do. But I fear Joe Stalin and his atom bomb even more. And Chairman Mao and the hordes he's unleashed in Korea, more to the point, they are who our audience fears, not Hitler. We eradicated him and crushed Mussolini. Franco's off by himself in Spain. No one worries about the fascists anymore.
I do.
But that's not going to sell this screenplay that the studio has. Half of them are fascists themselves, so cut the line.
No, I want to keep it.
Look, I know you're used to New York where you can find enough liberals and intellectuals to fill a single theater every night, but this is Hollywood and we have to satisfy the masses. I direct movies with a social conscience. You know that. Gentleman's Agreement, Pinky, but you have to know how to pull it off. You can have all the social conscience you want so long as the movie makes a healthy profit. But anything that turns audiences off loses money for the studios. That's why the blacklist works. The studios are terrified anti-red fanatics will boycott movies with listed actors, and then regular moviegoers will be afraid to cross their picket lines. The studios are already taking a beating from this new upstart. Television. What an invention. It's going to be the death of us all.
Kazan rises and switches on the television. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
These commercials are inane. Talk about manipulating the masses.
And this just in. The trial of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg has been set for March 6th. The couple maintains their innocence, but federal prosecutors insist that they have avowed the communist-headed spy ring that stole the secret of the atom bomb. According to FBI officials,
Bah, that's just what I was talking about. Those self-avowed communists want to destroy this country. That means you, me, Mary, your kids too. You want to tell me they aren't more dangerous than HUAC?
It's not either or. Both are dangerous. But it seems we're no longer permitted to acknowledge the threat from the right. Just the one from the left.
Well, those Reds sure scare me. I know them. I used to be one of them. And they scare away paying customers too. Look, your guy Marty might sacrifice his livelihood to stand up for a principle, but don't think for a second that their old Zanuck or Jack Warner or Harry Cohn will. So you're going to have to cut the fascists. It's that simple. You can hear it from me, or you can hear it from Harry Cohn.
It's not the communists who are silencing today's writers. It's HUAC and the studios that are threatening, the threat of blacklisting. Everyone is scared of his own shadow, afraid to write anything that's even a little socially minded, lest they end up ostracized or out of work. You've read Ayn Rand's Screen Guide for Americans. Yeah?
They were all Reds.
Thou shalt not smear industrialist success or the free enterprise system. And now, HUAC starting a new round of Hollywood hearings in just a couple months.
Well, this script still needs revisions. The ending is too ambiguous. It equivocates too much. Marty sells out at the end, but not really. It doesn't work.
I've always liked ambiguity. It's more provocative, more like real life.
But this ain't real life. It's Hollywood.
All right, I'll think about it.
Good. We worked out our differences before. All My Sons and Death of a Salesman were great collaborations. The best I've ever had. And that includes Tennessee. We'll make the hook work too.
I know we will.
I think we're close enough that we can pitch to the studios. I'll set up a meeting with Harry Cohn at Columbia. I told him I'd give him first crack. Now, let's get ready for that party tonight. After all, you're the guest of honor, the hotshot Pulitzer Prize winner come to bring a moral conscience to Sin City, huh?
I know better than to try that. I just want to make a good movie with some meaning to it.
phone rings.
Hello? Oh, hey, baby, what's up? I know. Look, something's come up. There's been a change of plans for this evening. I can't, it's for work. Zapata. Now, hold on a second. All right, look, I need you to do me a favor. I invited this broad up and she took Marilyn Monroe, but she's just a bit anxious. Sex oozes from her pores, right? Anyway, I got a date tonight with a girl I'm casting for Zapata. Howard Hughes' girlfriend, in fact. Oh, that'll take a while. You feel that for me with Marilyn until I get back? She'll take a taxi back so you can meet her here?
Okay, sure. But I don't want it to take a cab. That's no way to treat a lady. I'll pick her up.
As you wish, but you don't have to. She's no lady. She's used to it. Hey, yeah. How would you like to go with the guest of honor instead, huh? That's right, Art. It's not every day you get to show up at a party with a Pulitzer Prize winner. Good. He'll pick you up at 8. That's right, he'll come to you. Thanks for understanding. I know, I gotta go. I'll see you later on, okay? After I finish up with my work? Yeah, me too. Here's her address. Have some fun. She's a great lady. And very available since her agent, the one true love, Johnny Hyde, died about a month ago. She told me she tried to kill herself after the funeral.
That's terrible. How?
Barbiturates. She was devastated when his family wouldn't let her sit with them at the service. Been grief-stricken ever since. I've been giving moral support, lifting her spirits. She sure lifts mine.
You know, I would never exploit someone's sufferings like that.
Who's to say she's not exploiting me? I take her mind off of sadness and protect her against the pack of Hollywood wolves that's been circling ever since. I give her status. She appreciates it. All of it.
In any case, I wouldn't cheat on Mary.
Of course not. Civilization would collapse. Well, have a good time anyway.
Blackout. Act 1, Scene 2. The living room of Hollywood producer Charles Feldman. Evening of the same day. Music and party conversation fill the room. Miller and Marilyn Monroe enter together and proceed towards the sofa, clearly attracted to one another. As the scene progresses, the rest of the room fades into dark, and the music and party conversation fade.
It was awfully considerate of you to pick me up tonight. You didn't have to. At most of these Hollywood parties, the dates arrive by cab. Fewer complications for the guys at the end of the night.
You deserve better than that. Anyone can see that.
That's the nicest thing anyone said to me since Johnny died.
How sad.
Johnny's death was terribly sad. That wasn't just my agent. He was my best friend. John was the first man in Hollywood who was truly nice to me. You're the second.
Again, how sad. You must be very lonely and unsupported now.
Gatch has been good to me. Johnny wanted to marry me, Even during his last days in the hospital, he wanted us to get hitched, just so I would be taken care of after he died.
So why didn't you?
John was special. He really was. I cared for him so much, but I didn't love him. I guess he never really excited me. You know what I mean? How can I marry someone just for money?
It's been known to happen.
I'd feel cheap. I thought about it, but I couldn't.
I applaud your integrity. Johnny Hyde was a wealthy man. I think most people in Hollywood, hell, most people in the world would have succumbed to that kind of temptation.
Well, what's the point if it makes you feel like a whore?
You're an extraordinary woman, Marilyn. A truly extraordinary woman. I feel privileged to know you.
Thank you. Coming from you, I'm speechless. Thank you so much. When Gatch first told me you'd be taking me instead of him, I was a little pissed off. Not surprised, pissed. But I'm not anymore.
I'm glad I haven't disappointed you.
Not a bit.
I thought we only called him Gadge on the East Coast.
No, we call him that out here too. I don't know why though.
It's short for Gadget.
Oh. In this town, a pretty girl's never appreciated for anything besides being pretty. It's terribly demeaning, but if you don't play along with it, you'll never get anywhere in your career. Then all you ever get is nitwit roles. And how far can an actress go in her career? Sometimes being pretty can be such a curse. Do you think I'm pretty?
tiny breasts, but that's not the problem. People have always admired me for my mind, but dismissed my physical prowess, such as it is.
I think you're very manly. You look like Abraham Lincoln.
I've been told that. Thank you. I saw you had a volume of E. Cummings on your coffee table. Do you like him much?
Oh, yes. Some guy you left it behind by accident. Or maybe not by accident. He bought it to impress a girl. Not me. But really, he doesn't like to read. I thought the poems were delightful. I like the one about the lame balloon, the man with the goat feet, the boy and the girl that were feeling the first sexual attraction to each other. And it's spring!
That's one of my favorites, too. The goat feet identify the balloon man with the pen. And that Randy, the troublemaker who pops up in and out of Greek mythology, he was practicing his old black magic with those kids. You can be sure of that.
I never read any mythology, but I'd like to. Can you recommend something? I know that poem makes me smile. All of his poems do. Buffalo Bill's defunct. How do you like your blue-eyed boy now, Mr. Death?
If only Cummings could see the expression on your face when you recite his lines, you'd make him a very happy man.
I bet I could, if I wanted. I could make you happy.
Alas, I'm married. There's so much I want to learn about. Well, no one is allowed to make me happy. Why don't you check out the Bullfinch mythology sometime? Of course, Ovid's Metamorphosis gets closer to the original stories. There are some good translations. I'll find one for you.
I love that. There's so much I want to learn about, but I don't even know where to start. My education stank, like the rest of my childhood. You don't mind, do you? All that talk of goat's feet reminded me of my poor little pinky toe. I stubbed it on the way out of the shower when I was getting ready for you to fetch me.
Well, here, let me massage it.
That feels good.
Your wish is my command.
I've never had a massage from a Pulitzer Prize winner before.
Well, we give the best foot rubs. It's one of the conditions for us receiving the award.
Gatch told me you were too serious. All work and no play, but I see that's not true.
I hope not.
How well do you guys really know each other?
We're friends, but mostly we talk about business when we're together. Theater and politics, sometimes about our marriages.
No. From my experience, I'd say theater is politics. Marriage, too.
From my experience as well. These days, politics have become theater.
Marriage, too. I don't really follow politics. Oh, except for the civil rights. I think it's just a shame what we do to colored people. And that's one of the things I admire about Gadge. Pinky is the only movie I've seen that really exposes discrimination.
Yes, I admire him about that too. And Gentleman's Agreement to take on anti-Semitism, which strikes close to home for me.
You're Jewish?
Born, raised, and bar mitzvah.
Maybe that's why I like you so much. We're both outsiders.
Auslanders, yes. Are you an Auslander too?
I was raised in 8 different foster homes. I never knew my daddy, and Mama was committed to a mental institution when I was just a little girl. I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. Even here in Hollywood, I feel like I don't fit in.
My poor dear. It seems so sad.
But I'm not sad now. Not with you. You what? You make me feel secure.
I'm happy I can do that for you. Here with you, all my troubles seem far away.
What kind of troubles can a Pulitzer Prize winner have? The world must be at your beck and call.
You might think, but it isn't how the things work. They're always the next project to get funded and made. To my wife, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just that familiar face she sees every day. Sometimes it's too familiar.
Yes. Wives can be like that. taking for granted the good thing that they've got.
Husbands too, I guess. Come. Let's dance and put all that behind us.
They rise and begin to dance slowly and tenderly as a love song plays. Zahn enters. He observes the chemistry between them, shrugs to himself, and then exits. Miller and Monroe take no notice of him and continue dancing. Blackout. Act 1, Scene 3. March 1951. Harry Cohn's office. Stage right, a waiting room that is separated by a door from stage right. Cohn's office. Stage right, Kazan, Miller, and Monroe sit in the waiting room. She wears a hat and thick eyeglasses, carries a pen and notepad, and is made to look like a stenographer. A large logo for Columbia Pictures hovers above them on the wall.
What's my name again?
Miss Bauer.
Right, Miss Bauer. Whose idea was to bring me here as your stenographer? I bet it was Gatch.
Oh, not me. It was Art's plan all the way. You brought out a playful side of him I've never seen before.
And I'm a better man for it too.
Do you think Cohn will recognize you? You are under contract for Columbia.
Well,
I don't think so. It's not much of a contract. $75 a week for bit parts. I did meet him once though. I was looking for work a while back. He interviewed me right here in the same office. It didn't take long.
Transition. Kazan and Miller freeze. Voice of Harry Cohn is heard.
So, you'd like a contract with Columbia?
Yes, Mr. Cohen. I think my body of work speaks for itself. You've seen the clips from Asphalt Jungle and All About Eve. You know, I have a strong screen presence.
Your body certainly does speak for itself. And it has a strong presence. I'll tell you what. Why don't you join me on the yacht this afternoon? I'll give you all the attention you deserve.
Will your wife be joining us?
My wife? Oh no, what are you, crazy? My wife? What the hell would I want my wife for?
Thanks for the invitation. It's very kind. But I'm afraid I have a previous engagement.
A previous engagement? What the hell, break it?
I'm afraid I can't.
What do you mean you can't? I'm Harry Cohn, for Christ's sake. Head of Columbia Pictures. Don't you want to work in Hollywood?
Very much. I want to be in movies more than anything. But I'm afraid I just can't break my appointment.
Then get the hell out of here, you little cocktease! I'm Harry Cohn! I never want to see that ass of yours again!
Lights resume. Kazan and Miller break freeze. Cohn opens the door to his office and gestures for them to enter.
Come in. Ah, and who is this beautiful young thing?
well, this is our stenographer, Miss Bauer. If you don't mind, she's going to take notes for us. I want to make sure I don't distort any of your suggestions.
Nice tits. Have you seen them before?
I don't think so.
You sure? A rack like that leaves a strong impression. Now, about the hook. It has potential, but it carries a lot of risk.
Risk?
I showed the manuscript to Roy Brewer.
Since when does the head of the stage union approve screenplays? Why does he get a vote?
Because I asked him to. If I'm going to invest in a movie that bashes union leadership, I want to make sure I don't get any shit from my own unions. I can't afford the headache.
The hook is about longshoremen, not about stage performers.
The point is that I showed it to Brewer, and he has serious reservations. He says racketeering isn't a problem for unions nowadays. It's the Reds trying to take them over.
A union president who runs his own stable of goons would say that.
If he thinks that we make a movie about corruption, if he thinks that if we make a movie about corruption, the longshoremen's unions, the Reds will find a way to exploit it. I don't want to be responsible for anything that will help those bastards. Unions are big enough plain pain as it is. At least I can deal with someone like Brewer. The commies take control, he'll throw the whole industry into chaos. Every goddamn movie we make will need approval from Moscow.
So instead, you beg for approval for the likes of Roy Brewer.
If the Reds control the docks, they'll be able to halt the flow of supplies to our boys in Korea. We could lose the war. Shit, they could bring the whole country to its knees if they shut down the ports.
Yes, but I don't
Yeah,
understand.
but I, for one, refuse to play into their commie hands. Roy contracted someone he knows at the FBI to see what they think about it.
The FBI? It's a movie, for Christ's sake, not an atom bomb. What the fuck does the FBI have to
All
do
right,
with it?
calm down, Art.
Calm down, Art. This is just the way things work out here nowadays. Now, we can introduce some scenes that make the Reds look bad, huh? But we can't make them the main villains. The whole story is about confronting corruption at the top, and the Reds ain't at the top.
Bruce says there's no corruption in the Longshoremen's Union, and he should know he's a close friend of Joe Ryan out on the other coast.
You mean, Joe, it's never been proved, Ryan? What about Malcolm Johnson's Crime on the Waterfront series? That's what we based our script on. It won a Pulitzer.
Okay. Maybe you don't have to change the story wholesale. At least show the Reds lurking in the background, ready to pounce at the first opportunity. Look here. Brewer thinks that after your man, Ferrara, starts to make a name for himself by calling out the bosses, you could insert a scene where a commie tries to ingratiate himself with him. Make Ferrara think they're his ally and they'll back him up, but Ferrara just tells the bastard to go to hell. The American worker doesn't need any help from damn Reds. A scene like that could go a long way to making this script acceptable.
Yeah, we could do something like that, couldn't we, Art?
Forget it. I'm not going to compromise my screenplay just to satisfy the likes of Roy Brewer. I won't tell him how to run his union, and he shouldn't tell me how to write a movie. I'm withdrawing the manuscript. Let's go.
Hey, be reasonable, Art. Compromise is what Hollywood filmmaking is all about. It's a collaboration.
Isn't it interesting how the minute we try to make the script pro-American, you pull out? Hey. You're a good-hearted whore, just like me. We'll find something else to work on. But I never want to see that son of a bitch again. You understand?
I don't think you need to worry about that. The feeling seems mutual.
Did you get all that down, Miss Bauer?
You were fantastic in there, Art. It was wonderful to see you stand up to Harry Cohn like that. I bet no one's done that in years.
At least not since you told him you had a previous engagement.
Miller and Monroe exit arm in arm, and Kazan follows. Blackout. Following day, Charles Feldman's living room. Miller is dressed for travel. He walks up to the front doors, two suitcases in his hands. Kazan enters from an interior room and approaches him.
I'll wait here till the taxi
Hey,
comes.
come on, Art, don't be this way. Harry Cohn offends you, I get it. Roy Brewer offends you, I get that too. But there's no reason just to pack up and leave the next day.
I won't have a baboon like Brewer dictating how I write my scripts.
We could have worked something out. We could have thrown him a crumb and done what we wanted to do anyway.
Like writers in Russia. I'm an American. I love being an American precisely because I don't have to kowtow the petty people in positions of power. And I'm not going to start now. Now that's what the book is about.
No. Instead, you're going to silence yourself by throwing a tantrum, withdrawing your screenplay, running away. Now no one gets to see your story about a man who stands up to petty people in positions of power.
Taxi humps off stage.
Gadge, I hear what you're saying. I know how much work you've put into this script, and I deeply regret that it will come to naught.
It doesn't have to. I gave up premiering the Rose tattoo for this.
I know you did. And I know how much that meant to you.
Well, then stay here, goddammit! Make this movie with me!
Taxi humps off stage again, this time more patiently.
Look, we'll talk about the script. Maybe we can shop it somewhere else or work something out. But I just can't stay here any longer.
Why the hell not?
Taxi humps impatiently off stage.
I said, why the hell not?
Because I'm in love with Marilyn.
Shit. This is the end of civilization as we know it.
Blackout. Act 1, Scene 5. Stage left is Marilyn Monroe's bedroom. Stage right, Arthur Miller's Study, April 1951. Kazan and Monroe lie together on her bed next to a nightstand with a stack of books. At the top of the books are letters and a large photo of Miller. Light transition. Miller sits at his desk. As Miller speaks, we hear sounds of Kazan and Monroe's lovemaking.
Oh.
Dear Miss Bauer, I am a man torn between passion and duty. Such is the stuff of tragedy. I am Wotan, the chief of the gods who must accede to the slaying of his beloved, bastard son of Sigmund, in order to appease his demanding wife and remain true to his word. The guarantor of sacred oaths, Wotan, must either surrender everything he must desire and holds dear, the ring of power, Sigmund and his favorite daughter, Brunhilde, or abnegate his weighty responsibilities and destroy all that in his duty to protect. To succumb to his desires and bring joy to his heart is to bring about nothing less than the destruction of human civilization and the demise of gods. In the end, Wotan does what is right. He does what he must. He surrenders the ring and smashes Sigmund's sword, thereby allowing his son's foe to slay him. Wotan then banishes Brunhilde, never to see her again because she disobeyed his commands by protecting Sigmund. Brunhilde had knowingly infuriated Wotan because she could not bring herself to do her father's bidding, and thereby shattered his heart.
Light transition. Mary enters stage left and confronts Miller.
Who are you writing to now?
Gadget's secretary, Miss Bauer. We're still clearing up some finals issues with the hook.
Yeah, the hook.
What's that supposed to mean?
You tell me. I always thought there was something crooked about a hook.
What are you getting at?
Nothing. Go back to your Miss Bauer. Dinner will be ready in half an hour.
Thank you.
Don't be late again. The kids are getting tired of having to wait.
I told you to start without me if I'm working.
Dinner time is family time, but not if you aren't there.
I'm sorry. You know how I get caught up in my work, but tonight I'll be on time. I promise.
We'll see.
Where was I? Oh, yes. I left Hollywood and fled back east. Yes, fled. That's the word. Lest I succumb to the greatest temptation I've ever known and rush into your arms. For I am a married man, and Mary is my Fricka, stern, moral, and demanding.
Jay, Bobby, wash up. Dinner's almost ready.
I swore fidelity when we married, and I always keep my oath. For what is a man if he fails to abide his word? His word, indeed, is his bond.
Wow, Gadge! You're such a beast. There's no one like you.
Not even your boyfriend, Art?
I wouldn't know. He's too principled to let me find out. Here, listen to what he wrote.
Monroe picks up the letter from the nightstand and reads it aloud to Kazan.
Blah, 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 blah. Wotan, Sigmund, Brunhilde. Oh, whoever. Oh, here we go. His word is indeed his bond. And my marriage feels now so much like bondage. It ties me hand and foot and brings me little joy. My children, of course, I love them still and cannot bring myself to destroy their little lives by abandoning them. But Mary has grown harsh and cold. That feels good. Do it some more.
I told her of my immense attraction to you, to a woman I met in California. I thought she would appreciate my honesty and depth of my commitment to her and our family, that she would find reassuring the knowledge that even when faced by such temptation, I would stay beside her, as Wotan did for Fricka. But like Fricka, Mary flew into a jealous rage. She spurns me in bed and has only mean words for me outside it. I try to appease her, to comfort her, to love her. But she will have none of it.
I've heard that story before. Some people don't learn from experience.
You sure do. And I still think of you.
What kind of marriage is it that I am protecting if she will have none of me? And I only want you. And yet I swore fidelity to my marriage, for better and for worse. And a man's word is his bond, is it not?
Wives swear. Look how they torture their men. Who else uses words like, is it not? I love your hands. Between Art's words and your hands, I'm in heaven.
That works for me.
Thank God your Molly isn't like Mary.
Molly has her faults, but fortunately, insane jealousy is not among them.
The poor man, he's so noble and sincere. I love that about him. But look where it gets him.
Exactly, look where it gets him. He's in bed with a cold wife who forsakes him, and I'm here fucking you.
Don't you believe in nobility and principles?
I believe in principles more than you imagine. But I also believe in real politics. What kind of an idiot tells his wife he lusts for another woman and expects her to be thankful for his honesty? What kind of a writer walks out on a movie deal because he won't make a few changes to satisfy the man who writes the checks? We could have gotten that screenplay to work without any major compromises, but for art, any sort of appeasement is like Chamberlain groveling before Hitler. Except for when it comes to compromising himself for his wife. He crawls on his hands and knees for Mary. What do you see in him, really? Apart from his misguided nobility.
Art, he takes me seriously. No man's ever spoken to me the way he does. Like, I have a mind that he can appeal to instead of just my body.
Did anyone ever tell you you have a great ass?
As a matter of fact, yes. But it's always nice to hear it from a stud like you. Oh, Art knows that I've had a rotten education, but he never treats me like I'm stupid. Never. He tries to expand my knowledge, teach me, help me grow. Who is this Wotan and Fricka and Brumhilda?
Characters from Wagner's Ring. It's based on a Norse myth.
Yes, mythology. Art spoke about it the first night we were together, when he held my pinky toe all evening.
Some men have a strange way of wooing. I'd have held something else.
And who says that I would have let him? I offered to let Art, but he declined. He was tempted. He said you better not. I've never met a man like him before.
Probably never will again.
We were talking about E.E. Cummings and the balloon man with the goat's feet. After Art brought me a copy of Ollie. It's wonderful. I've never read anything like it before. Art, he takes me places I've never been with anyone before. So do you. But his places are in my mind. Not even you or Johnny has ever done that. He talks to me about politics and ideas and social justice, not just Cadillacs and his latest conquest. He takes it for granted that I'm interested and able to understand. Here, listen to what he wrote last week.
She picks up another letter from the nightstand.
Dear Miss Bauer, I am indeed a tortured man. My thoughts consume me, and when they don't, my fears about the state of the nation do. McCarthyism sweeps through the country like the plague, bringing suffering and desolation to everyone it touches. Our greatest virtue as a society has always been to respect for independence through the independence of action, but the UAC and McCarthy are crushing it.
Yes, Art and I have spoken about that.
It's becoming a witch hunt, just like in Salem, back in the days of the Puritans. The only way for a person to deflect charges of sorcery against him was to point the finger at his best friend, wife, or neighbor, or else to be hung or burned at the stake. I'm writing of a new play about it. It will be set in Salem, but hopefully it will help America
Walters heard.
Thank you, Mr. Kazan, for agreeing to testify before this executive session of the House Committee on Un-American Activities. As previously agreed, this is a private session and no transcripts of this hearing will be made available to the public. For the record, I'm Francis C. Walter, Chairman of the committee and the committee's sole representative at this hearing. The date is January 14th, 1952.
Thank you for accommodating me in this manner.
The purpose of these hearings is to ascertain the nature and the extent of the Communist Party involvement in the entertainment industry. As you know, worldwide communism presents a clear and present danger to our nation and the freedoms we enjoy, and any effort to support their cause by funneling money to the American Communist Party or by lending prestige to its efforts must be viewed with great concern, especially while our soldiers continue to fight communism and the communist aggression in Korea under the most adverse conditions.
I share your feelings about the communist threat overseas, but domestically,
It's a well-known
however,
fact that the American Communist Party takes its orders from Moscow, and so any support of communism at home or abroad aids and abets Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong and their efforts to achieve global domination. Moreover, party members have committed devastating acts of espionage against our country, infiltrating the highest levels of the State Department and stealing crucial atomic secrets. Alger Hiss and the Rosenbergs are ample proof of the seriousness of this domestic threat. Now, down to business. You were a member of the group theater between 1932 and 1940, were you not?
that is correct.
And were you a member of the Communist Party while you belonged to the group theater?
Yes. I joined the party in 1934 and left it in early 1936. I couldn't tolerate its efforts to dictate what writers should write or how actors should act or directors direct. I do not see how any true artist can conform to any party.
But do you
line.
confirm that the group theater was a communist organization?
Not at all. There was a communist contingent within the theater to which I briefly belonged. Its goal was to take control of the theater, but it failed. For one thing, the people in charge, Lee Strasberg, Cheryl Crawford, and Harold Clerman, were never party members. They were extremely egotistical people who knew what they wanted and nobody shoved them around. They were not the kind of people who would ever submit to party discipline.
But other members of the group theater were communists.
Yes, there was a communist unit operating within the group theater.
How would you identify its members for the committee?
I don't want to answer that question. I don't take refuge in anything. I will not take the Fifth Amendment or invoke the First. And I am not hiding behind any immunity of any kind. It's a matter of personal
And
conscience.
who recruited you into that unit?
Again, I respectfully decline to answer that
Was
question.
Clifford Odets a party member?
I prefer not to answer
Have there
that.
been any individuals who have been previously appeared before this committee who were members of the communist unit?
Coming down on the train this morning, I knew I would be asked this question, and I knew the risks I would run by not answering it. I am not taking immunity. I just made up my mind not to answer, as a matter of personal conscience. There were two names on the list you showed me.
Would you care to identify them?
No, I wouldn't. I will say this. I believe that in general, the communists are a conspiracy and that in industries and institutions that affect national security, they should be exposed. But for the life of me, I do not see how an actor saying someone else's lines can be subversive.
Was John Garfield a member of the Communist Party?
I am not ducking you. I cannot remember. John Garfield was a kid from the Bronx. That's what I remember about him. I don't remember him having been interested in much of anything except girls and acting.
Now, what exactly did you mean when you said your position was a matter of personal conscience?
I feel that if I did give you the names you are requesting, I would badly hurt someone, and I choose not to do that.
Several previous Hollywood witnesses were not penalized because they came here and made a clean breast of their past connections.
Well, I may be wrong, but I feel if this were an open meeting instead of an executive session, the plans I am working on as a director of a picture would be canceled tomorrow. The pressure groups are so strong, and I understand everyone's anxiety. God knows I think you should investigate and what you are doing is right. But if this were known, if this were an open meeting, I feel that I would be out of a job.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Kazan. These proceedings are now closed.
Blackout. Early April 1952. Stage right is clearing in the Connecticut was separated transition. Stage left, Elizabeth, played by the actress who plays Mary, stands pointing her finger at Abigail, played by the actress who plays Monroe. Abigail's expression is defiant. Susanna and Miller walk together.
So, you're gonna go ahead with that play about the Salem witch hunts? Marilyn told me something about it.
If I can pull it off. I'm still not sure. I was getting ready to drive up here to do some research when you called. Connecticut's on the way, so I figured I'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Oh, so now I'm a dead bird. More like a dead duck. What's the angle? Apart from showing the obvious that witch hunts are bad.
Well, I'm thinking of focusing on John Proctor, a farmer who shows up in the official history. His wife, Elizabeth, was accused by one Abigail Williams, a serving girl she had fired.
Whore! Strumpet, be gone!
In my version, before the play begins, Elizabeth, a stern, intensely moral, unforgiving woman, has dismissed Abigail because she learned the girl had been seducing Proctor.
Light transition.
Be gone, I say. One of the girls will bring you your things in the morning, but I want you out of this house right now. Do you hear me, Harding? Right now.
So that's after all I've done?
Thanks for all you've done. You bedded my husband. In my own house. In my own bed, that's what you've done.
I kept him alive. I made his juices flow again. John Proctor's a man still in the prime of his life, a suck in a grave hungry to be plucked. But he was rotten in the vine from your indifference. I made fine wine from the fruit of his loins, while you let the seeds splatter on the ground. Don't you know the Lord contends such ways?
Elizabeth slaps Abigail.
Blasphemer! How dare you!
He resisted me at first, you know. He really did. He wanted to be true to you, but later he told me that once you said I cast my spell, you turned your back on him. He felt lost and alone, but you refused to let him in. Where else could he go?
That's enough, you whore! Be gone!
Elizabeth exits in a rage, leaving Abigail alone, smiling to herself. Then Abigail exits. Light transition to stage right.
Sounds to me like Elizabeth has good grounds for dismissing both the girl and the husband. Of course, who am I to talk? Molly could have dismissed me ages ago.
Sometimes I think Mary would like to, and I haven't even cheated on her. Not in deed, at least, but in my heart.
Storyline strikes close to home, don't you think?
Mary hasn't had anything to do with me ever since I told her I left to Hollywood for betraying with her and Marilyn.
How can someone so smart be such a schmuck? What do you think your confession did to Mary's pride, to her sense of herself as a woman? Did you really think she'd be overjoyed by your honesty?
But if we can't live honestly and openly, then what's the point? Socrates says that...
Look, I testified before HUAC a few months ago in closed session.
I didn't know.
I'm being open and honest with you now.
And were you open and honest with the committee?
I didn't name anyone, if that's what you're asking.
Did you take the fifth?
No, I didn't invoke any claims at all to immunity. I admitted my own membership but didn't implicate anyone else. Strangely enough, that seemed to satisfy them.
Lucky you. Clearly they don't want to expose you. You're too valuable to lose on the blacklist.
Perhaps I was. But now someone has leaked my testimony and it's going to go public any day. So the studio has advised me to volunteer to testify again, this time in an open session.
Gad, I'm so sorry.
If I don't cooperate fully and name names, I'll never work in Hollywood again.
Oh, at least you can still direct on Broadway. That's more than most people can say in your position. You won't go hungry.
You don't get it. Live theater is too small a stage. I want to direct movies. I like the big screen and the close-ups and the jump cuts, the panning and tracking, the ability to splice incongruous images together and then tear them apart. I love the medium. It gives me such an expansive palette to work with. Movies open me up in a way the stage alone never could.
To be honest, Gadge, you have a gift for directing movies like anyone else.
I don't want to give that up. But Scourer says that if I don't cooperate, I'll never direct another film. It's that simple.
Do you believe him?
He's the head of Fox, for Christ's sake. Plus, he's my friend.
It could be a bluff.
What do you mean?
Look, you're the most successful director in Hollywood right now. Your name is gold. Money in the bank. You could break the blacklist.
How?
Just do what you did in your first testimony. Talk about yourself and don't give them any names.
They could send me to jail. I don't want to go to jail over this.
So take the 5th. They'll keep you out of prison.
I'd be blacklisted before Walter Gavels the hearing closed.
But that's the point. Let them put you on the list. Then the studios will have to choose. They can do without your services and lose millions in ticket sales, or they can release your films and trust the public to cross the picket lines and come through at the box office. Aren't you the one that told me Hollywood is all about profits?
They're too chicken shit to take the risk.
Look, it's not like you're still a communist. That's why you left the party and why you don't trust it, maybe even fear it. That will give you credibility. Do you think people will stay away from your movies just because you refuse to be an informer? They won't. They'll admire you for it. Nobody likes a stool pigeon.
Maybe, maybe not. But they won't ever have the chance because the studios wouldn't let me work. And more than anything, I want to work on movies.
Catch, listen.
No! You listen to me! I'm willing to sacrifice for certain things, but I'm not willing to risk my career to protect a party that takes its marching orders from Moscow. I won't give up everything I've made for myself in this life for a bunch of self-righteous bullies who demand that everyone toe the party line or else, who want to destroy America. If they didn't insist on operating in the shadows, then no one would be caught in this dilemma in the first place. I wasn't ashamed of what we were doing back then to help the poor. Showing how the fat cats keep the little guy down. So why all the secrecy? Why not have open roles like the Democrats and Republicans? Don't you see? It's the damned party and its cult of distrust that's causing everyone so much grief.
But informing will destroy innocent lives.
And not informing will destroy mine. Who would I be protecting? The ones who are still members consider me a traitor. They'd stab an ice pick in my eye if they could get away with it. I should give everything up for them. As for the people like me who saw through those cowards years ago and left, let them name names too. They can keep their jobs and be true to who they are now.
I can't agree with you. The American Communist Party isn't a threat to anyone. HUAC and the blacklisters are. Talk about having to toe the party line. You say they wanted to do the hook. God damn it, Gadge. You were in the room with me. And you, more than anyone else, can strike a blow against them. Maybe even knock them down.
But if I don't knock them out, and I'm the one riding on the canvas, bleeding and crippled, and who'll be there to pick me up, huh? Not those red bastards or their former friends and fellow travelers. No, I won't give up everything to save their asses.
You can still write your own ticket on Broadway. At least you'll not starve.
And no, I wouldn't starve. I'd only lose my chance to realize my greatness as an artist. For what? To protect something I don't even believe in anymore? To save people who'd like to see me dead?
I see I'm not going to change your mind. You asked me my advice. I've given it to you. It's not the witnesses who are at fault anyway. It's the damn committee. Those self-serving, sanctimonious bastards. They enjoy watching people like you and me twist in the wind while they pretend to be patriots. They already know who was in the party back then. The FBI was all over it. Your testimony won't do anything to protect America. They just want to see you crawl. Your humiliation silences the left and makes HUAC appear important. That's the only reason for these hearings. These rituals of public atonement come straight out of Stalin's playbook. And what about me?
What about you?
I was never a member, you know that. But I did attend some meetings of the party writers back then. Once I even gave a speech.
I don't know anything about that. I have no first-hand knowledge that you ever participated in party activities.
Okay. We understand each other. We still have that. Don't worry about what I think. Whatever you do will be okay with me, because I know your heart's in the right place.
Blackout. April 10th, 1952. A bare stage with a single chair. Zahn, appearing determined and self-righteous, sits facing the audience holding papers. The voice of Walter sits at a microphone, sits at the table with a microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Gazan, for appearing once again to testify before the House Committee on Un-American Activities. Although this is an executive session, unlike your previous testimony, the transcripts of this hearing will be made available to the public. For the record, I'm Francis E. Walter, Chairman of the committee and the sole representative of the committee at this hearing. The date is April 10th, 1952.
I understand.
Although you previously declined to identify individuals known to you as members of the Communist Party as a matter of conscience, as you put it, now you have voluntarily requested that the committee reopen your hearing to give you an opportunity to describe their participation in party activities. Is that correct?
I want to make a full and complete statement. I want to tell you everything I know. To that end, I have prepared a statement.
Please proceed.
I have come to the conclusion that I did wrong to withhold these names before because secrecy serves the communists and it is exactly what they want. The American people need all the facts about all aspects of communism in order to deal with it wisely and effectively. It is my obligation as a citizen to tell everything that I know. I was a member of the Communist Party from sometime in the summer of 1934 until the late winter or early spring of 1936. During those years, to my eyes, there was no clear opposition of national interests between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was not clear to me when I joined that the American Communist Party was taking its orders from the Kremlin and acting as a Russian agency in this country. On the contrary, it seemed to me that the party had at heart the cause of the poor and unemployed people whom I saw on the streets about me. I felt that by joining, I was going to help them. I was going to fight Hitler, and strange as it seems today, I felt that I was acting for the good of the American people. I was assigned to a unit of party members who, like myself, were members of the Group Theater Acting Company. They were Louis Leverett, co-leader of the unit, J. Edward Bromberg, co-leader of the unit, now deceased, Phoebe Brand, I was instrumental in bringing her into the party, Morris Karnofsky, who later married Miss Brand, Tony Kraber, who along with Ted Wellman recruited me into the party, Art Smith, Paula Miller, who later married Lee Strasberg and with whom I remain friends today. She quit the communists long ago. She is far too sensible and balanced a woman, and she is married to too fine and intelligent a man to have remained among them.
Is that all?
Clifford Odets. He has assured me that he got out about the time that I did.
Continue.
My unit's mission was fourfold. We were asked to educate ourselves in Marxist and party doctrine, to help the party get a foothold in the Actors Equity Association, to support various front organizations of the party, and to try to capture the group theater and to make it a communist mouthpiece. As I testified previously, we failed in that final task, nor did the party come even remotely close to controlling Actors Equity. I was instructed by the communist unit to demand that the group be run democratically. This was a characteristic communist tactic. They were not at all interested in democracy, they wanted control. They had no chance of controlling the directors, but they thought that if authority went to the actors, they would have a chance to dominate through the usual tricks of behind-the-scenes caucuses, block voting, and confusion of issues. This was the specific issue over which I quit the party. I had enough regimentation, enough of being told what to think and say and do, and the last straw came when I was invited to go through the typical communist great ritual of penance, groveling and apologizing and admitting the error of my ways. A communist functionary, an organizer from Detroit, condemned my refusal to fall in with the party's plan for the group theater. He insisted that I repent. My fellow members looked at the man as if he were an oracle. That was the night I quit them. I had had enough anyway. I had had a taste of police state living, and I did not like it. Instead of working honestly for the good of the American people, I had found that I was being used to put power in the hands of people for whom individually and as a group I felt nothing but contempt, and for whose standard of conduct I felt a genuine horror. Since that night, I have never had the least thing to do with the party.
Mr. Kazan, we appreciate your cooperation with this committee. It's only through the assistance of people such as you that we've been able to bring the attention of the American people to the machinations of this communist conspiracy for world domination.
Those bastards. Look what they put me through because they don't have the guts to be honest about who they are and what they do. Screw them.
Blackout.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a 10-minute intermission. There's food and refreshments outside. Just help